Hello everyone, and welcome to Dutch Greybeard. After reading Words of Radiance, which I finished on October 4, I was in the mood for some shorter books. First, I took a step away from fantasy with the autobiography by Oliver Sacks, On the Move, which I enjoyed very much. I also read Mort by Terry Pratchett. It was the 8th novel in his Discworld for me. It is the 4th in the series and the first of the sub-series called Death. A separate video on this reading experience is in the making, but for now I can already say that after my disappointing read of Equal Rights, Mort has convincingly rekindled my interest in the Discworld. This video is about my reading experience of two of Brandon Sanderson's novellas that are collected in Arcanum Unbounded. I will not talk spoilers this time, so everyone who hasn't yet read any Stormlight or Cosmere can sit back and relax. This will be a spoiler-free video. After stepping away from fantasy for about 1 week with Oliver Sacks, I was eager again to return to the Cosmere and Roshar. I first read Shadows for Silence in the Forrests of Hell, which takes place on the world of Threnody, if I pronounce that correctly. The 61 pages of this story in my edition took me one sitting, and I am deeply impressed by how skilled the writer can sketch an entire world in so few pages. We've been given just a tiny glimpse into this vast world with Fades, these mysterious beings that roam the lands always ready to attack. As long as you abide by 3 strict rules, you don't have to be afraid of them. First, kindling flame. It's all right if you carry a torch that burns already, but kindling it inevitably draws the Fades. 2, shedding blood of another. Drawing your own blood may not invoke their wrath, but when you make somebody else bleed, you are sure of imminent death by Fades. And third, running at night. Knowing Sanderson as I do by now, I'm sure there is a strong story behind these 3 quid pro quos regarding Fades. And who is Silence Montaigne truly? One of the most beautiful names, by the way, for a character. What's her story? In his postscript to the story, Sanderson explains that this world, Threnody, was fully built already. He just hadn't written any story in this world up until this one. You'll see more of this world in the future, most likely. I surely hope that Sanderson can find the time to write a longer work set in this intriguing world. For me, Shadows for Silence in the Forrests of Hell deserves 86 points out of 100. Many people in the comments suggested that after Words of Radiance I should read Edgedancer before moving on to Oathbringer. Regarding the Cosmere books, I follow the reading order as Captured in Words recommends. Just as a brief reminder, this is his suggested reading order. His video was published over a year ago, just after Tress of the Emerald Sea was published. So, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, The Sunlit Man, and of course Wind and Truth are simply added at the end here. I don't know where they belong in the reading order. So, I read Edgedancer, which is 147 pages long in Arcanum Unbounded. I loved the character of Lift in the short interlude from Words of Radiance, so I was very eager to read a longer story where she takes the lead role. Even though it's a rather short novel, it took me 3 days to read. It is quite a different story than Shadows for Silence in terms of plot and direction. Edgedancer sort of rambles on in a very nice way without much of a plot to speak of. Until around chapter 7 or 8, there isn't very much direction in the story other than Lift's rather unhinged need for fun and food. Thankfully, that is exactly what makes her such a delightful character to be around with. She is most positively unconventional and funny at times. About the woman who runs an orphanage, Lift says, "Once she had a staring contest with a painting and won." The introduction of Arklow, the creature made of Kremlings, who claims to have been around for thousands of years in chapter 18, the best chapter of the book, raises many questions. A completely new identity with mysterious and intriguing background, no doubt. I hope we are going to see more of him or it. The story of Edgedancer functions as some sort of vehicle for the author to strengthen his world-building of Rashar, with special attention for the bonds between men and Spren. We learn much about the way the relationship of Lift with her Spren, Windle, develops. After some time, when the character of Darkness or Nail joins in, things speed up a bit. It seems like he is also the one who makes an appearance in the story of Im, the shoemaker in one of the interludes in Words of Radiance. Because I want to keep this video spoiler-free, I will not tell what his role is in that story. No doubt the interaction between him and Lift will have large impact on the rest of the story in the bigger books. I really liked Edgedancer and the many reveals, which of course invoked new questions, as is usually the case with Sanderson, were very welcome. Lift remains one of my favorite Stormlight characters. Still, the story seems to lack in plot. It is obvious that Sanderson needed to bring Lift forward again before taking the story further in Oathbringer. He writes in the postscript, "I am grooming her for a larger role in the future of the series." Nothing wrong with that, but in terms of rating, I can give it only 79 points out of 100. It is perhaps a little bit illogical to be separately rating each episode that belongs to the entire Cosmere, since every installment, like the interludes and this short novel, reveals only one part of the universe as a whole. It's like giving an opinion on one piece of a huge puzzle without taking into account how it relates to all the surrounding and other pieces as well as the bigger picture. Of the 26 titles I counted that sums up the Cosmere until now, I have read 12 and am in the midst of number 13, Oathbringer. So I am practically halfway. When I started reading The Final Empire back in July of 2023, I could not have imagined coming this far in such a relative short period of time. Of the many new authors I have met since I started on my journey into fantasy, Brandon Sanderson, no doubt, is one of the most impressive. I adore his storytelling and his imagination. And yes, I also very much appreciate his writing style. Not every author has to write poetic prose the way Guy Gavriel Kay can. Everyone has his or her own style, and with each new Sanderson book I read, I value his prose more and more. Thank you very much for watching this video. Until we meet again at Dutch Greybeard.